Hey y'all, I'm back and I have more Glitch in the Matrix stories, which I'm so excited to read. I feel like I haven't read these in so long. I feel like the last time I did something with Glitch in the Matrix, it was watching TikToks, and honestly I prefer reading these stories, so let's get into it. Number 1. If I told you what I saw last night, you would not believe me. Like, I can't even wrap my head around it, so here it goes. I went to do laundry around 2 a.m. with my oldest son. After we put the laundry in, we went to McDonald's drive-thru to get something to drink. The drive-thru was packed with about 5 or 6 cars ahead of us. I noticed none of the cars were moving forward and it had been like 5 minutes already waiting. So I decided to go around the car in front of me to the next drive-thru lane. McDonald's has 2. As I'm pulling around, I look into their car to see why they're not moving, and I kid you not, both people, driver and passenger, looked dead. Heads tilted all the way back, eyes shut, not moving, dead. I freaked out and tried to pull out of the drive-thru entirely, going around the other cars just to get out of there. And the next car I passed, all the passengers also looked dead. Heads tilted back, eyes shut. I panicked, thinking maybe they were all shot or someone killed them, so I fucking hit the gas and I got the fuck out of there. My son called 911 and told them what happened, and they sent an officer to check. A few minutes later, the cop called us back and said everything was fine at McDonald's. Mind you, my son saw it too. We both saw the car in front of us. The people looked dead. That shit was terrifying. It looked like one of those rapture movies or the end of the world type of shit. Needless to say, I can't wrap my head around what we saw or why, and I'm still scared over it. I would never go back to that McDonald's ever again in my life. I probably would never leave my home ever again. I have been watching so much of The Walking Dead that sometimes I really believe that I'm living it. Like, we were out at a park and there was a fucking rooster that started making these weird grumbly noises, and I was like, oh my god, it's a walker. Like, we have to get ready to attack. And if I saw that in my current state, oh my god, I would be so fully convinced. I would be in such a delusional state. No. Number 2. Before making an offer on our house, my husband and I went for a viewing with our 3-year-old daughter, whom we'd left with a babysitter the first time we saw the house. As we walked in, I told her she could choose a bedroom. She said, I want the dinosaur room, and ran upstairs. Okay, 3-year-olds say random stuff. A moment later, she called out, here it is, and sure enough, the closet of her bedroom was covered with dinosaur stickers. My husband, the realtor, and I were all freaked out. The kid acted like she knew the stickers were there, but none of us remembered seeing them before, and we certainly hadn't talked about them. The house was vacant and immaculately clean. It was an estate sale. We left the stickers up. I actually don't know if I would be able to leave those stickers up. I feel like there's something really off about that, especially because your child wasn't even there the first time you went to see the house. How the fuck did they know that? I can't have kids. This was circa 2002. I was about 8. Me, my dad, and stepmom at the time were on our way from California to Tennessee by plane. Once we landed, we got out of the plane and waited for my dad to turn on his phone to call my aunt, who was waiting for us at the airport. We wait a couple of minutes and my dad has a ton of missed calls from my aunt freaking out about where we were. He called her back and she asks where we've been and says that they've been waiting for 2.5 hours. We're pretty confused because our flight got there in a normal amount of time without delays, but we somehow lost 2.5 hours of our time. Time changed from CA to Tennessee aside. Once we met up with them down at baggage, our carousel was completely empty of luggage and other passengers. We had to go pick up our baggage somewhere because they had been unclaimed for so long. I still don't know what happened or how we lost this much time. It felt very weird and surreal for the rest of the night. No, that's like the movie, the show, Manifest, I think that's what it's called, except they get lost for like 2.5 years. But also it was their whole flight. It was just you guys that lost the time. That makes no sense. I don't know how anyone explains that. I just don't. You can't. Next one. Something weird is happening in our town and only my family seems to notice. The first thing we started noticing were duplicates. We would see someone somewhere only for them to inexplicably end up somewhere else. For example, my mother and I saw and chatted with an old friend at the grocery store, and when we arrived home later, we saw on Facebook that this person was out of the country on vacation and had been for a few days. They have no memory of speaking to us either. I've taken phone calls that were duplicates of calls I had already taken with the other person, swearing we hadn't spoken yet. The scariest thing, though, has been the deaths. There have been 4 deaths in our community of very well-known and influential people, and every one of them has died twice. We hear about their deaths and see all of the RIP posts on Facebook. We see the community fundraisers put on to raise money for funerals, and even see the cars at the church or funeral home only for these same people to die A week or two later, and all of the RIP posts and fundraisers happen again. Only our family seems to notice that these things are happening. My mother and siblings and my 2 kids. We don't know what's going on and it's starting to scare us. Oh, it would have scared me from the beginning. Also, my cat's playing with like a rock. I'll be back. I just feel like it would already be so strange to have a whole conversation with someone and then not remember anything about it. Or just like the fact that you saw someone at the store who wasn't even in the country. That would freak me out from the start. And then everyone dying from there, oh, I would have already been gone. I would have already moved. Like, what is happening in this community? When I was little, my parents had a painting of a soldier in uniform. I would see it from my bed when the door was cracked. Several times I saw the man in the painting move his head and look at me. The scariest experience was after I begged my parents to get rid of the painting. My dad calmed me down and I started to drift to sleep. But I had that feeling where you know you're being watched. When I opened my eyes, and I have never forgotten this, the soldier turned his head and smiled. The next day, my dad threw away the painting. Years later, my dad told me he had heard me moving around in my bed and was looking down the hall trying to decide if he should go check on me again. While glancing down the hallway, he saw the man in the painting turn his head and smile. Absolutely not. Oh my God, there's a demon in your painting. That's crazy. Oh my God, okay, number 6. This is, without a doubt, the scariest and most unexplainable thing that has ever happened to me. One Saturday night, several months ago, I attended a birthday party at a friend's house. There were about 40 people in attendance, split between the basement and the main floor. I didn't go down to the basement even once because the music down there was extremely loud, which I hate, and most of my friends were on the main floor anyways. My best friend had given me a ride to the party and we stayed together the whole night. A few days later, I ran into a distant friend of mine at school who had also been in attendance. He took out his phone and started showing me some of the photos he had taken that night. He got to one that showed him and a girl posing for the camera in the basement, with me standing in the background, smiling and looking in the direction of the camera, but not quite at it. I obviously freaked out and told him I hadn't been in the basement. He told me he had seen me there for several minutes. He said he tried to say hello, but I seemed distant and distracted. I called my best friend and she confirmed that I had been with her the entire night. I was not drunk or drugged. I drank nothing but a water bottle that I brought with me. To this day, when I think about the picture, it scares the shit out of me. There must have been another me in the basement. Oh my God, the fact that you're like, you were in the, no! The fact that you were upstairs, but you were also downstairs and you didn't even know you were downstairs. Can you imagine if you went downstairs and saw yourself? Oh my God. Last spring, when my son was 3 years old, we drove by a big white church. This church is one that we often pass driving around town. It is also the place of his current preschool, but at the time, he attended a different preschool and had never stepped foot in or talked about the big white church. So we drove by one day and he said, "Oh, there's the church that I ate cereal in." My husband and I looked at each other and I said, "What do you mean? We've never been there before." We asked some additional questions, but he didn't really answer. However, he was very adamant about being there and eating cereal. This happened during a very difficult time in our lives. My father-in-law was on hospice and dying of cancer. For weeks, we were up and back to my in-laws' house, this church being along the route. He said it a few more times and then never mentioned it again. Fast forward to today. He currently attends preschool at said church. He has been going since September and we love it. It is Christian, though we aren't very religious. Anyway, I got the monthly newsletter and it mentioned that next month is pajama day, where the kids wear pajamas and eat cereal. I told my son and asked him if he remembered eating cereal there before. He said no, and had no recollection of saying that he did. Is there an explanation to this? It gives me chills when I think about it. That's what I mean when I say, like, no kids. No kids. Because I'd be like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Number 8, my voice said something else. This just happened and my fiance and I are a little freaked out. He couldn't find his phone and I offered to call him. When he found his phone, he answered on speaker and said hello while next to me. I answered with hello too, but when we heard my voice coming through his phone, it was me clearly saying, hey. We looked at each other and I ended the call. We couldn't come up with a rational explanation, which doesn't mean there isn't one, we just couldn't think of one. It made me feel like those scenes in horror movies where a character is standing in front of a mirror and the reflection doesn't match their movements. What is the explanation for that? I know I've only been thinking for maybe 10 seconds, but there's nothing. This one doesn't have to do with me, but more with my mom. This happened on a Friday. I was walking home from school. Everybody knows the feeling. You're done with all the crap from the past week and ready for the weekend. Once I got home, I left my backpack on the couch. My mom had a shocked look on her face. I asked her what was wrong. "I picked you up early for a dental appointment, but now you're here," she told me. I wasn't spooked, just a little confused. I gave her a hug and went to grab my backpack off the couch, where I left it when I got home. It wasn't there. Keep in mind, there was no one in the house but us. I asked my mom if she moved it. She didn't. After looking for a while, I found it in the passenger seat of my mom's car. I felt confusion and shock at the same time. I walked home. There is no way it could have just teleported to the car like that. I still have no idea how it did that. I don't like that because it's not just the fact that there was two of you, but your stuff moved, like you had it with you. So it's not like a doppelganger situation, or at least I don't think it is, because you had your backpack with you and then it ended up somewhere else. That's I don't even know how you would explain that. If the backpack wasn't involved, I would say like you have a doppelganger. There's another you, but those two things, no, that doesn't make sense. Number 10. This is a relatively short story, but still creeps me out to this day because of how certain I am of it. I was working in Pittsburgh, PA, in a travel job where I would stay in hotels throughout the week and then travel home for the weekend. I got off at 5 per usual, and before I got on the PA Turnpike, I stopped at a mom and pop style gas station to fuel up for the trip home. Got my gas, went in and paid for it, and headed for the Turnpike. I drove for maybe 2.5 hours before I decided I was going to pull off and get a quick bite and use the bathroom. Punched in my GPS, the nearest gas station, and headed to it. And I swear to God, I pulled into the exact same mom and pop gas station. I walked in to get a burger and almost fell over. I was so freaked out. Finished up in the station, walked out to my truck, and my GPS reflected I was in the same spot. Those 2.5 hours of driving completely erased, as it was after 7. I should have been halfway home. The only logic I have is I fell asleep at the station, but surely someone would have woken me up if I was there that long. I remember the drive, and the gas in my truck reflected I had been driving. It's my only ever glitch, and it still baffles me. I've read another story like that, where they drove in a straight line for, I don't know, X amount of time, and they ended up literally back at the same spot on like a mountain. That just doesn't make sense, because if you weren't taking turns constantly, like you were on a freeway, that one's so scary to me. I don't know why. I hate that, because if I ended up in the same spot, I would have a panic attack. Just a bit of background. No serious mental health problems other than some mild anxiety and depression. I take 25 milligrams of Zoloft, and I don't think I'm tripping or hallucinating. This morning, I woke up for work, left a little earlier than usual because I woke up before my alarm, filled my water bottle, grabbed my access card, and got in my car and drove off. My commute is the same every day. 40 minutes. It's mostly interstate. There's always traffic. While my car is warming up, I pick an album to listen to for the drive there. I usually make it about 3/4 of the way through an album before I get to work. Every day is a new album, so I did all of that. I drove to work. I remember being cut off. I remember being in standstill traffic towards my exit. I remember the album I listened to. I even remember responding to a text using Siri. I remember seeing a type of car I've never seen before in the US. I remember thinking to myself, I'm glad it's not as hot today. I definitely drove. So I get to work, pull into the same parking space I take every day, step out of my car, and lo and behold, I'm still in front of my apartment building. 40 minutes later, almost done with the album I put on. What the fuck was I doing? Where did I go? No, I just don't like that. I just don't, because it makes no sense. This is the last one I'm gonna read. One night I was scrolling back in my Instagram feed. I'm not sure why I felt like doing that, but I was weirdly compelled to. I came across a selfie of myself where I had a very strange and unattractive smile. It had no likes. Most of my photos have around 50 to 80 since my friends are active on it, and I don't remember taking it or posting it, though it was from a week before max. It spooked me so bad, and I deleted it. I didn't even see a copy of it in my camera roll. It happened 7 years ago, and I still think about it. What happened? Was that even me? That would freak me out, like really bad. All of these would freak me out. These were bad, honestly. Like sometimes when I read Glitch in the Matrix, I'm like, these are like crazy, scary, whatever, but like, you could kind of explain some of them. I feel like I could not explain any of that. But that is all I have for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any Glitch in the Matrix stories that you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit linked down below. My cats have been zooming back and forth in this whole video, and I'm hoping that it's not too chaotic. They weren't even in the frame for most of it. They're running like back and forth from my office to my bedroom. I have like a long hallway that they're running from, like back and forth. I don't know what they're doing. And I should probably go check to make sure they're okay. Because like I heard a crash. So, but I'm gonna go. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye. I'll check on them after my little ramble here. I'm not gonna say much. I just wanted to say that my medications have been making me feel a lot better. I know I said that in my last video, but I'm like continuing to update you because now it's been like over a week. The only thing is, before I was having a lot of issues falling asleep. And it wasn't just that, it was like the feelings that I had while I was trying to fall asleep and like whatever. But now I'm having just trouble staying asleep. I don't really feel anxious necessarily. I don't feel anything like I did before. But I wake up almost every hour, if not every like maybe 2 hours, but typically every hour. For like 5-10 minutes, I can fall back asleep pretty easily, but it's like really annoying. I don't know what it is because I'm on the same meds I was on for years. And so I don't know if it's like my body trying to adjust to them again because I had switched. I don't know, but I'm gonna talk to my psychiatrist. I'm gonna keep like just going, see what happens. I think my body will adjust to it eventually. I even took melatonin last night and I was still waking up all the time. That's crazy. It's extra strength melatonin. But I talked to my psychiatrist at like the end of the month, so I'm not even gonna bug him because I called him so many times during my crisis. I'm gonna give that man some peace, but I will tell him about it when I talk to him next, which is like in maybe 2 weeks. But yeah, all right, that's all I had to say. I'm gonna go because it got weirdly quiet. Oh, there's Weems. Maybe he's fine, I don't know. It got weirdly quiet after the crash, so I'm gonna go check on them. See ya.